A very pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever your time zone is located. Welcome to your hour, and this is Rita Gadi. Today, we are privileged to have two of the outstanding minds this part of the planet. I will introduce them later, but for this program, we are considering not just an analysis or a summary, but actually our own personal and political thoughts as far as the State of the Nation address of the President is concerned. That is why we have entitled our program the SONA Aftermath, meaning there is still 11 months to go, expectations, and of course, whatever else has been taken up in 3 hours almost of his State of the Nation address before the nation. Then we also have other matters which perhaps would still need some, a little pushing for the next 11 months if it's still possible. So I'd like to welcome, first from all the way down south, the farthest island of our country, Tawi-Tawi. I'd like to welcome Almarin, Tillah. And I also like to welcome the president of the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino. He is the one who has spearheaded the Save the Nation movement, of course, our connections with LaRouche National and several other aspects that involve us, the Citizens Guard, and of course, the most important of it all is where we stand at this particular stage. Sir Butch Valdes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rita and Al. It's a privilege to see you both again.
It's been quite a while. You must excuse my being inside the cocoon. I hope that I can spread my wings already soon enough. But that is how it goes. This pandemic has enveloped us in many ways.
Right.
Now let's get to the post-SONA aftermath. I'm actually doubling this. The SONA aftermath. We're speaking of several of the items that were mentioned. We do not intend anymore to summarize this or analyze them. You have 3 hours. Anybody out there in the world that would want to listen to what the president said, well, you can go to YouTube or to Facebook and you can have the entire speech that you can listen to. But there are also several items which perhaps we have to consider now with our guests. One is Mindanao was mentioned. And but the mention of Mindanao had something to do with Marawi, the rehabilitation, etc. But there is one. He opened his statement on Mindanao with that line that we have to correct the historical injustice of the Moro people. So, Al, perhaps you could elaborate on what historical injustice the president meant.
Well, actually, from the Spanish conquistadores to the American period, and even our own republic, there has been historic injustice done to the Muslims. And if I may quote Dean Cesar Adib Mahul, which is very appropriate at this juncture, in his book, Muslims in the Philippines, he said, history books in the Philippines tend to lay emphasis on events in other islands and glorify national heroes from such areas, as if the history of the Philippines is only that of the people who have been conquered, while the history of the unconquered ones do not merit a share in the history of the Philippines. The struggle of the Muslim South is part of the struggle of the entire nation, and the epic exploits of its heroes may well be the nation's heritage.
Very well said. Dean Cesar Mahul was also one time my professor in Islamic studies in the University of the Philippines. Well, Sir Butch,
Yes.
That is what the correction of the injustice is all about, if that could be summarized in Dean Mahul's words. But how do you view Mindanao now after 5 years, and now that we have the BARM and several other the divisions that have been made to be able to give the kind of autonomy that is needed in that part of our country?
It is sad, Rita and that at least the way we perceive it, that over all of these years, there has always been some sort of expression of good intentions for Mindanao. It has been recognized by previous governments as well as this one that there is some injustice that is being done, or whether it is on purpose or not, there definitely Mindanao is not being given the right attention that it really deserves. In the beginning of President Duterte's administration, one of the most salient points that he said was that he was going to push for federalization, and that if he didn't do it, at least in a sense that it was going to be appropriate for the country, he will have a war in his hands in Mindanao. Now that was kind of vague, although now I realize that there were these threats of conflict that might escalate, and that Duterte seemed to be so certain that if they didn't go into federalization or Mindanao is not given the right type of principles of autonomy, then there will be unrest. That was his firm statements at the time. But 5 years have passed, and it seems that move towards federalization, or at least to be given the type of autonomy which the people in Mindanao would like, has not really been granted. When I mean the autonomy, I don't really mean only the Muslims. It's all of Mindanao. It's not just the Muslims that are suffering injustice in this case. It is the whole of Mindanao, and no serious development program has gone into Mindanao in order for it to be truly contributory to national development. This is how I saw it, and it is something that we lament, that among many other things that Mr. Duterte has not fulfilled is this promise that there will be federalization.
Exactly. That was together also with the writing of the new constitution, Sir Butch. Early on, he had this committee organized with former Chief Justice Renato Puno, and that of the best minds that could of the time, and they've already come up with a draft of the constitution for the whole country, a parliamentary form and federal form of government. And they've gone all over the provinces discussing this in the regions, etc. And as you said, it is really lamentable that it was not pushed through. So, let us hope for the next administration if this is still possible. But going back to that federal form of government, Al, you had already mentioned this many times, that that should have been one of the first provisions of whatever negotiations that were being done between MNLF, MILF, etc., which is really the federal form, not just autonomy the way it is now, but the federal form of government. That is why perhaps there is the need now for this transition period yet, hoping that by the next administration we may have that. Speaking of the development in that part of the country, that is something that should have been done by what already has been organized many administrations ago, the Mindanao Development Authority and so forth. And the promise also that the railway system will be connecting our provinces in Mindanao. And that is why that is one of the aspects of the post of the aftermath of the SONA that we have to consider as something important, but nothing else can be done in 11 months. So what is the situation now that this is as it is, Al?
Yeah, before that, Rita, Butch, um, I was listening tightly to the SONA. But before the SONA started, there was this prayer, universal prayer. I was taken aback, really, that the Muslims were not represented in that
Exactly.
prayer. And it's a universal prayer. Sana, isang Muslim youth wearing a kopia or a fez could have been involved there maybe at the end of that prayer. That's it. I think that's an omission or, I don't know, honest mistake, whatever. But it just shows that whoever organized this did not take the Muslims into account in terms of the universal prayer. Having said that, what is most important to us, the tribe people of Mindanao, as Brother Butch was saying, Christian brothers, Lumad brothers, and the Muslims, is the campaign promise of the president. That's why we campaigned for him, supported him. I spent even my consultancy, little consultancy money for his tarpaulins all over the Mindanao with the slogan, "Let us give Mindanao a chance." That came from me, Rita. Now I can say openly and publicly and nationally. And so he committed to us that he will implement federalism. And to me, this is the last formula to keep this country intact, because we have tried several formulas, in the past, from President Marcos, etc., up to today, pero hindi pa rin nag-gel. So, short of independence, dismemberment of the republic is a federal system of government. And in my discussions with Chief Justice Puno, Ray Puno is a good friend, and the late Senator Nene Pimentel, who I highly respect, I told them that this is the last formula for keeping national unity. I told Nene and Chief Justice Ray Puno. And my proposal was to have two federal states for the Muslims. One for the island provinces of Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, and Basilan, and part of Zamboanga, because Zamboanga City, or the whole of the peninsula, was once part of the Sultanate of Sulu. There were 5 stars on the flag of the Sultanate of Sulu: Sulu, Basilan, Zamboanga, Palawan, and of course Sabah, Malaysia, which they also committed to pursue, but up to now there's been no talk about it. So the structure of government is very important to us, Rita, Butch, because mas malapit kami sa Malaysia kaysa Zamboanga City. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I was looking at the map, Al, and you only had this here in Tawi-Tawi. You only had that piece of, really, that waterway, which is just a few hundred navigational miles, I think, before you get to Sabah, actually. So, that's very true. But be that as it may, the last line of the president's SONA was, together, let us rise as a nation. Sir Butch, are we rising together as a nation? That was his last line. And that was his admonition to the nation as he closed his State of the Nation address.
This is precisely what I think federalization should be all about. The concept of federalization is not towards a division of the country. It should actually be towards a stronger unification of the country. And by dividing the nation in such a way that there is going to be maximized opportunities for each of those divisions, so-called divisions, to be strengthened towards the improvement of national development. I had my misgivings about the proposals being made by CJ Puno because it seemed to me that they were moving towards federalization for the sake of federalization. wherein, to me, the objective should have been, how does how does a how do we strengthen our national economy by giving opportunities to all and maximizing the use of all of our resources, because the way it seems is that our development makes use of it's a how do you say, very inefficient use of the national resources, of the whole country. Why? Because no effort has been done in the three major areas of our country, which is Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. No? Whereas if you give the same development effort, which means the infrastructure, energy, water, and the rest of those things that are needed for development of these major areas, which is Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, then you would be in a position to maximize the resources that we have, instead of alienating areas of the country and try to feed the rest of the country via development and so on. This is why there is always a tendency to secede. There are people that want to secede. Again, a little different from what Al is talking about, in terms of Muslims and areas, which rightfully maybe there is reason for that. But I look at it not. I look at it not from a difference of how to say it, religious orientations. I look at it as all Filipinos, whether you're Muslim or Christians, and because the Muslims and the Christians want development, and if there is development, proper development, there will be no such conflicts between tribes and between Christians and Muslims as well.
Exactly. So if we follow what the president has said in his closing, that together we should rise as a nation, but there are still portions of our country. That's why we're zeroing in on Mindanao. We have the autonomous region, the BARM, for instance. Now that we cannot have the federal system in the provinces encompassed by the BARM, and the situation is such that we have this autonomous Bangsamoro institution. So how is it going to be, Al? Now that federalism seems to be up in the air until the next administration. So you just have to make do with whatever it is that we have now, the autonomous Bangsamoro region.
Well, Rita, my take is that whether this administration that committed to implement federalism, it was a campaign, commitment to the Muslims and even to Mindanao, for that matter. We will see pursue even over and above the last days of this administration, because we believe, and I am a Muslim, but I'm also a Filipino, as Butch has said, and I don't want this country to be dismembered. And from way back as a student of history, the only formula I can see that will be viable for the long term and for the next generation of our people in the South is the implementation of a federal system in this country and federal state for the Muslims. Exactly. Short of that, I think we have tried even this autonomy, but you have seen how people react in the provinces and in the predominant Muslim areas. So short of independence, short of dismemberment of this country, is the federal system of government. Exactly. We'll pursue it, Rita, whether this administration in its last 2 minutes in the basketball game to finish will pursue it and over and above this administration, because we are Filipinos, not just Muslims.
No, Al, without trying to criticize what has happened over the past administrations and all, I will always go back to the Tripoli Agreement, which was forged between Muammar Gaddafi and the President Marcos, and which was brokered by Madame Imelda Romualdez Marcos, because there you have two regions, autonomous regions, and there is no division, no borders between Muslims or Christians. The two regions, 9 and 12, contiguous provinces, belong to that autonomous region, and from there you can proceed whatever federal form you would want to have. But with the BARM, if you look at the map, actually I have the map in front of me here, and you have it, it's all scattered. You have Lanao del Sur, Lanao del Norte, some pieces of Maguindanao, and then you have all the way down the three island provinces that we have. So, it is, and then they had to include Cotabato City because you already had the government center there at one time, which was part of the Tripoli Agreement then. And so you see, as far as I am concerned, I'm also from Mindanao. The BARM actually divides us any further. I don't know how you look at it, but this is only for the Muslims, and the rest are for the rest of the island, which should not be the case. As you said, we are all Filipinos.
I agree
So,
with you
yeah.
totally, Rita. I agree with you totally. The best formula then was the formula of the late President Marcos. As they put it, a tree is best measured when it is down. Now, it was a viable formula. Two regions, Region 9, with all the island provinces, and Region 12, the landlocked provinces. And these were two viable institutions. Simeon Datumanong was the head of Region 12, and Admiral Spaldon of Region 9. I happen to be the executive director of Region 9, counterpart of Mike Mastura of Region 12. We were coordinating, and these were two vibrant, viable instruments for development. And if they only pursued this, continue with it, I think we would not need the arm, and we will not need even the BARM. But that's the problem with political administration in this country. They never look back. Ang hindi lumilingon sa pinanggalingan, hindi makakarating sa patunguhan. The formula of President Marcos was the best formula ever today. And all the administration after him would have continued with it. Ang problema, whatever good formula done by a previous administration, inaalis, dinidiscard. Political administration in this country is likened to building of a pyramid. Block by block yan. Hindi gibain mo yung maganda na nakalagay dyan. Maybe you discard what is not that viable, but those that are being useful, viable, fundamental, you continue with it. You must even enhance it. But that is I think it's a sickness of political administration in this country. Kung sino makapasok dyan, ibain yung nangyari, mas maganda. When I was with the core administration, I happened to be the OIC governor there. I want to put this in proper context, Rita. This is important. My colleagues, mga yellow, they were wanting to, get away with all that President Marcos did. I objected to that. I was the only one who objected. And they thought that baka mola ko dito sa yellow. I was in the parliament of the state because I believe in that struggle. And I told them, no, you cannot just get away or discard whatever good contributions the past administration has had. I disagreed with them and argued with them. And that was the sense at that time. So, sana itong administration, the last lap, we learn from history. And because if we don't learn from history, we may even repeat it with a vengeance.
Exactly. Sir Butch, that is the way it goes. Sometimes there are good measures that are already in place, but any change of administration, there is no continuity. Now, whatever is in place now in the 6 years or 5 years and 11 months of President Duterte, there are certain matters that will stay as it is. We have to acknowledge the infrastructure, the build, and several other matters. But we now have to confront one of the most important elements for our future, which is the economy. So that is
Yeah,
where we have to look
exactly.
at the aftermath of what the president has said, the encouragement that our finance geniuses know what is being done, and that they have already projected some kind of a slow but positive recovery. How do you see this?
Well, first of all, I have to disagree with the term geniuses that you use. Uh, in the KDP, our party, had come out with our own state of the nation, but specifically saying the true state of the nation 2021, and then we say what the president will not say. Okay. And true enough, he didn't say or emphasize the critical nature by which our economy is now, in effect, floundering. No? But for example, our country is in a great depression, in a state of great depression. That every time there are two succeeding quarters that your GDP goes down, no, you have every time your GDP goes down in one quarter, it's called a recession. But two succeeding quarters of going down already means depression, right? In the economic lingo. But we have had so far 5 succeeding quarters, consecutive quarters of going down. No? And that is why we are in a great depression. No? Now, this is what does this mean? It means when I looked at all of the figures and we have made our own computations, our economy as of now has been we have gone back to the levels of 2013 so far. No? So we're now in 2021, and our economy is as big as 2013. You know, an economy, even if it did not do anything, will increase by about 3 to 4% because your population grows up and there is this addition. But we have gone down to the level of 2013. World Bank had said that our economy has gone down by 9.5%, and that is a conservative figure. The first quarter of this year has already reached about 5%, only on the first quarter. So in 2020, we went down by 10%, and now we're already 5% only on the first quarter. So we can anticipate a continuous deterioration. What happens when there is this kind of deterioration? Well, you will increase your unemployment. You will have more people that are suffering from hunger because unemployment means no jobs and greater sickness. And not just COVID, but a lot of other sicknesses will come. And so what happens there? What happens there is what we have been saying from the very first time COVID had struck, when they imposed lockdowns. We have said that the economic shutdown will be killing more people, much more people than the disease itself. And we are facing precisely that. I am positive that there is greater mortality overall than just the COVID. As a matter of fact, our statistics bear us out. The number of people dying of pneumonia, not of COVID, is roughly about 60 to 70,000 a year. Whereas in 2 years, the total number of people so far that have died of COVID is 26,000. So it's even in 2 years, it is one third of pneumonia, and probably also one third of other diseases like dengue and so on and so forth. So we have to look at it in that sense. No? Are we really saving lives in the manner by which our government is handling this? No? Are we going to continue to shut down and lock down, knowing fully well that it is the amount of mortality, the level of mortality is even going higher with the lockdowns than the disease itself? I think this has to be really scrutinized by our government, unless the government is doing it on purpose.
I hope not. Oh my
I
goodness.
hope not, because
So, yeah, that's
that's
going to be really tragic. Well, let's go back to where it's, all of this that you're explaining, Sir Butch. How is it? How do you feel it in Mindanao, Al? Because, we always say na napakalayo kasi. Parang Mindanao is always, at the end of any talk or any discussion, it's usually what's happening here in Luzon. And then, of course, Visayas is rising up also. Pero Mindanao parang, well, how is it?
Well,
Considering everything that Sir Butch has said.
Rita, Butch, we Muslims have this process. We go into Islamic consultation before we make any decisions, especially major decisions at that. Having said that, in the Islamic consultations we have had before 2016, which I availed the office of the president himself, and with your kind indulgence, I just want to read out the titles of these, proposals from Mindanao, the Muslim South. Malacanang in Mindanao, that is ours. Sabah Plain, Office of the OIC at the DFA, Organization of Islamic Countries, number 57. Regionalization of the Senate, Mindanao as Food Basket, Halal Food Program, Mindanao Railway System. Before even the MLF and GRP had signed the peace pact, we already posted. Circumferential Road for Sulu, 4-lane road. Tawi-Tawi as Marine Laboratory, counterpart of UP Los Baños, Land Agriculture Laboratory. Tawi-Tawi Naval Academy for Mariners and Naval ROTC. Sewage processing plant for Bungao, Tawi-Tawi. We produce no less than 70% of the sunrise industry, which is sewage. And yet the people, the farmers, sewage farmers are poor because it's the people in Cebu, the processors, that earn from this windfall. Islamic tourism, we have the 1380 mosque, antedating Christianity for more than 200 years. And this could be not only just for tourists, but for scholars, historians, and people who want to know more about culture. Swimming as a national sport. Rita, we produce the best swimmers in this country from way back.
And diverse.
It has deteriorated. They were our swimmers in the Olympics. But now it has deteriorated because the government, national government, has not given it the needed support in terms of technology and facilities. Food processing in Holo, Boots. You can drop a seed and it will grow. Maybe the blood of the martyrs has fertilized the soil of Tulu. Except for grapes and apples, Rita, we produce all kinds of fruits. What happened during the fruit season, at the height of the fruit season, or fruits just get wasted. And this government and past government and political administration know about this, but they have done nothing about it. Then rewriting of Philippine history. The role of the Muslim or forebears have not been properly, pictured or presented in history. And that's why Dean Cesar Mahul, Dr. Ori Corpus, wrote The Roots of the Filipino People, and Dr. Samuel Tan correcting this gross injustice, even in the writing of our history. The barter trade, since time immemorial, was our mode of, the primary mode of livelihood we have. And during the Aquino administration, it was, reduced to the barest minimum, and now it is not being talked about. Free education, we presented this from grade school to university studies. We presented it before the president took, office as the regular president of this country. And free health. And my proposal here was a PDX prototype. You look at what is happening in our hospitals. Many of our hospitals don't have even the needed equipment, etc., everything. So if you have a PDX prototype per region, there are only about 13 or 15 regions in this country, why can't we afford it? Eh, yung sa PhilHealth, yan ang pera by the billions of pesos. If this were channeled to the setting up of PDX prototype, we could have saved more lives. And it's life saved that we are talking about, not money. Muslim ambassador to foreign OIC countries, 57 Muslim countries. You know, the unique role of a Muslim, Rita, Butch, is that you can relate even with the prime minister, with the president inside the mosque, because only Muslims are allowed to pray 5 times a day. And that is a special, kind of feature that a Muslim ambassador can have. That's why even during the time of Tillah, we proposed, and he was doing it. The only vice president that did this to a great extent was Tillah, in deference to him. May he rest in peace. Then 2 Muslims, 2 indigenous people at the cabinet department level. One for the island provinces of Sulu, Cavite, and Basilan. Another one for the landlocked provinces of Maguindanao and Lanao del Sur, and one for Ablumad brothers. The number now more than millions in Mindanao to be represented, and one who nobody's talking about our Cordillera brothers. One seat in the cabinet department level for our brothers in the Cordilleras. And Muslim justice to the Supreme Court. In deference, it was only President Cory Aquino that recognizes the need for justice in the Supreme Court. Coming from my island province of Tawi-Tawi, the YBD, and a UP graduate. And Muslim to be represented in the NEDA, National Economic Development Authority. You know what has happened all these years, if not decades, Butch, Rita, we are at the tail end of any priority in the development assistance, ODA. And so if you have a Muslim there that can probably advise these people in the NEDA, then that can be addressed. And of course, Muslim representation sa National Security Council. The longest rebellion in this country is the Moro National Liberation Front, the Muslim rebellion. And yet they don't harness people to advise them. A fatal mistake, just a point to raise. No? The Fatah massacre, Fatah massacre in Sulu, the entire, contingent was wiped out only because our soldiers, our officers are not oriented to the Muslim culture, history. As you know, Islam is a way of life. They slaughtered a dog inside the mosque. That caused the massacre of all of them.
Okay, so all of this actually, Al, you have presented this so many times, and not much has been done as far as all of these proposals are concerned. That's exactly why we are talking about an aftermath of the SONA, because what the president touched on simply was Marawi, and then of course correcting all of the injustices. But there are so many things that should have been taken care of, not just in this past 5 years, but also in the past administrations. So here we are with this situation now. How do you, Sir Butch, how do you see the future of Mindanao after listening to all of the proposals that should have been done but was not done? But the situation still continues to be as is, We have a Mindanao Development Authority. We have so many other, as Al said, even in the NEDA, Mindanao is not seem to be represented in all of this. So sayang.
Well, the idea of federalization is even more critical. And I don't think we even have the luxury of waiting, because there will be a continuous deterioration of the situation coming from different regions. This COVID thing is not going to be ending in the near future, it seems, the way it's being bandied about, that they said there will be new and newer strains, which means that there's going to be continuous pressure on our people to be able to survive, and economic deterioration will come to. Now, if the decisions for development and survival are going to come from only from Manila, and from the even the legislature that is mostly Manila, then I think we will have a problem because the rest of the country will lag behind, even if assuming that they make the right decisions for even for the people in Luzon. So, so it's more critical that you allow some autonomy on the part of these three main regions, Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon, to decide their development, to decide their survival mode, uh, with some guidance, of course, from national government. I'm not talking of complete autonomy, but there, like I said, if the whole of Mindanao were to decide how they're going to use their resources, how where they will put their let's say nuclear power plants, no? Where they will enhance their water management by creating more dams so that there's more energy generated. No? More energy generated means development, both industrial and agricultural. Now, that kind of development should be left up to them, with the guidance, of course, of the federal government, which is let's say Malacanang. No? And if, for example, if you have three main branches of government and 50, each one represented by 50 representatives in the national government, no? Then you will see that the development in the areas are more equitable. What Al has been talking about really is a political situation that has been, I suppose, become endemic over the years, and only Marcos had the temerity to be able to try to push it against the political direction. I want to point out something here. It is not just Manila or politicians that don't want a national development program for us. No? It is people outside the Philippines. It is people that have controlled our financial and economic development over the years. No? It is the financial oligarchy, and even the oligarchy here, those that are in control of public utilities, no, they do not want a federalized form of government because they will have to deal, no, with different leaderships, no? And they cannot, if they take advantage of one, this will be seen by another, no? And if they're giving favors to one, it will also be seen by the other. So the oligarchy who have been in control of both our political and our economic situation, no, do not want federalization. That is from our standpoint, that is the true enemy of the state. No? And since they control the political, which means you have right now about 9, 10 families that can be considered oligarchs that are in control of public utilities. They, in effect, control the Senate. They are members of the Senate, and they control the Senate. Every senator there, practically all, are funded by them in their elections. The same thing with the Congress. The same thing with the lower house. And if they can pay these congressmen and senators the amount of money, they can also pay the COMELEC to decide who our leadership is going to be. So this is the elephant in the room. We keep on talking about these things, but we refuse to look at those people who want to be like Zeus. They decide for us. Now we have to dismantle that. and take back our sovereign country. That's the only way. What we're debating here will be from now until forever, for as long as their interests are not are going to be pushed, no, the oligarchy, no, then we will be left to fighting among ourselves, no, for survival in our own country. No?
That is the kind of future we have to deal with even today, because in 11 months we will be having national elections, and we will be electing once again people perhaps which do not have the quality or the character to do as should be done for the benefit of our country, just to be able to repeat this. An oligarchy, or the oligarchs, what are they? These are the despotic power exercised by a privileged few.
Yeah.
Despotic power exercised by a privileged few. That is the definition of the Greek word oligarchos, which prevails up to this day. Domestically, before Marcos, during Marcos, you had already the control of business, of land, of all of the different important services, etc. And that is what we're having now. The media, the church, the politicians, and as Sir Butch was saying, you have the foreigners. Also, you have the oligarchy of aliens. And this is where we are being maneuvered. So, as you know, Al, in your situation down south, how important that passageway is between your island, Tawi-Tawi, and Sabah. And then, of course, several other passageways, Palawan also, and then you have the dispute in the South China Sea, which again, we are being maneuvered. So many things are on the table, but this is the oligarchy of the world and the oligarchy domestically that seems to control our lives. Just by way of summarizing all of this that is happening, it is not just a state of the nation telling us all will be well, but there is something that the people too should be doing, and that I think should be exercised 11 months from now. So, Al, you will be coming up perhaps in our next meeting with a listing of names coming from our islands. Perhaps some names are familiar, but the others are not, which could be presented to the nation so that they could also be represented in our political system. And Sir Butch likewise will be ongoing with how to save the nation by the choices we make for the next election. So right now, I'd like to thank both of you for having joined us. We're running out of time. We really need 1 week to discuss all of this. But thank you, Al. Almarin Tillah from Tawi-Tawi, and Sir Butch, our president of the KDP, of Save the Nation movement, of our connection, and of course the leadership of LaRouche here in the Philippines. So I would like to read some of those who've already come to comment on what we have been discussing. We have a chat area here. Let me look into this first before we close. And so we have, let me start from this. Ma'am, pakisabi ko kay Sel Almarin na, yeah, Al, perhaps for the next time you can do something with the camera to put it a little lower. Okay, this is a comment coming from one of from one of those observing. Ma'am, naririnig po kayo na live, etc. So, well, Sharon Descalzo, hello po. Bless you always. So this is for Almarim and Sir Butch Virgilio. Whereas it's idol ko po si Sir Butch. Oh, yes, of course. Leonard Toledo Evangelista, good evening po. Katipuneros, mabuhay ang KDP. From Glen Resurrection, watching now from the city of Bacoor, Cavite. Good afternoon, Ma'am Rita. Sir Butch Valdes, your topic is very interesting. Keep it up, giving up updates. Stay safe always. God bless. Reggie Maloloy on Avenido. Good afternoon po, Madam Rita, Sir Butch, and Sir Almarim. Wilfredo Opiniano, good evening po. Sir Ma'am, educate Filipino people kayo. Ang mangunguna at susuportahan namin kayo. Isulong ang ang tamang lipunan para sa mga Pilipino. Rayaj Lognot, mabuhay po ang KDP. God bless us. Joella Candola, good evening everyone. Good evening Sir Butch. Luz Viminda Kabatana, good evening po. Ma'am Rita, Sir Butch, Sir Almarin, watching from Malabon City. Long live po sa inyong lahat. Imelda Tugano, good evening sa mga Katipunero, Sir Butch, Sir Almarin, and Ma'am Rita, watching from Las Piñas. Wow, nandyan si Professor Butch Valdes. And to your beloved guest, Sir Almarin, thank you. Your program, mabuhay po kayong lahat. Elena Santos, God bless. Amelita Iwases, that is exactly what Mr. Almarin is saying. John Saini Onato, good afternoon, Sir Butch, Ma'am Rita, Sir Almarin. Keep up and more power to you all. Godspeed. Watching from Capiz. Honestly, that was the State of the Nation address of our president yesterday. It was like gossip or deception because everything that was promised was always nailed down because he did not anyway. So hindi na niya natuloy yung sinabi niya dito. Ana Galvez, blessed afternoon, evening, Ma'am Rita, Sir Butch, Sir Almarin. May you continue to guide and keep you all in for our country. Zenia Arcelia, good afternoon. Sir Butch, Sir Almarin, listening here from Hong Kong. God bless you all. Francis Tapia Oblena, mabuhay ang KDP, watching from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Poco Angani, I heard a meeting, doctors talking about vaccines. Only Cebu rejected their vaccines. I heard also they're laughing about the markets around the Philippines except Cebu. Now I know this is planned big business, etc. Marami pa po ito, but we just don't have enough time. So thank you very much for having joined us. I'd like to thank Almarin Tillah, Sir Butch Valdes, our president of the KDP. And of course, as we've said, this is the aftermath of the SONA. Many things have already been accomplished, many things still desired. We look forward to 2022. This is the political action that all of us will have to be undertaking, and we will discuss this further next time. As the president has concluded his SONA, let us rise together as a nation. So let us see how this can be done individually, personally, and politically. Thank you for having joined us. This has been your hour, and this is Rita Gadi.